It's empty. You're up.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Lake Chapala Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Okay. My name is Hyacinthe Miller. Is that better? I'll have to talk louder. I'm Hyacinthe Miller, your service associate for today. This afternoon, I'm excited to introduce the Reverends Wayne Arnason and Kathleen Rolenz, our guest Unitarian Universalist ministers from Charlottesville, Virginia. They'll be presenting our message today. We're delighted to gather with each of you, longtime friends and newcomers alike. Whether you're come seeking community, reflection, or renewal, may this time together offer you a sense of peace, belonging, and spiritual nourishment. We're entering a sacred time, and we're about to make this place and this time sacred by our presence and our intentions. Please turn off or silence your phones. Everybody. There's two more announcements before we begin. Our musician today will be Reverend Mary Doan, zooming in from New Hampshire. Also, St. Andrew's has invited us to a potluck and carol singing on Saturday, December 6th. That's next week. The social gathering starts at 3 with dinner at 3:30, followed by caroling. The children's choir will also be joining in. You can sign up outside and indicate if you prefer to bring a main course or a side salad. Would you please include a card indicating the name of the dish and the ingredients for those who have food sensitivities? Dessert will be provided by St. Andrew's. The suggested donation is 50 pesos or more. It may not be cold enough for ugly sweaters, but we invite you to wear Christmas attire. For additional information, see this week's newsletter. Our opening words this afternoon are by Reverend Michelle Legrave. We come to religious communities from many paths and with diverse needs. If you come here seeking comfort, may your pain be soothed. If you have come here looking for answers, may you find new questions. If you have come here seeking purpose, may your call be awakened. If you come here hoping to build a new way, may the path be opened before you. If you are new and would like to receive our newsletter and other emails, please talk to a member of the welcome team or write to us at info@lcuuf.org. Would members of the welcome team please stand up? I want to take a moment to extend a very warm welcome to everyone who's visiting us, whether you're here for the first time or you've returned or reconnected with us after a long absence. As we pass the mic, I invite you to say your name and tell us where you're from. If you're on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat box, and it will be read aloud in the fellowship. We'll start with people in the room. Here, you can use mine. It's okay.
Okay, I'm Stephen Storla, and this is Bob Haas. We are UUs, and we live in Palm Springs, California, part of the year, and Portland, Oregon, part of the year.
And maybe Ahihique for part of the year.
Hi, my name is Amira, and I've been living at Lakeside for the past 3 years. I'm Mexican, but I live in central Chapala. I'm not from this area, I'm from the Yucatan, and this is a lovely opportunity for me to meet more of the people in the community. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Roxanne Kibben, and I'm not new. I've been here 3 or 4 winters, and I'd like to introduce my wife, Theresa Libby. She's also visited, but we have just recently moved here for our full-time home, so.
Yay.
Welcome. That's it.
Do we have any visitors on Zoom this afternoon?
One is on Zoom.
Nobody on Zoom. Welcome to all visitors, members, and friends. Here at LCUUF, each week offers something unique, reflections from our minister, Reverend Matt Alspaugh, as well as insights from members and guest speakers. We warmly invite you to return and journey with us through this ever-unfolding landscape of thought, spirit, and belief. Our chalice lighting words today are by Reverend Wayne B. Arnason. In the flame from this chalice, we find the light of faith, the glow of hope, and the warmth of service. May we ever grow in faith, hope, and service as we kindle our own lights from its spark. Now, having lit our chalice, let us sing these words together.
We kindle this night in celebration for the life that we share.
Each week we come together to celebrate with, lament with, and support one another in our community. Love is not only at the center of our UU values, it is also the opening that invites us to briefly share our personal joys, sorrows, and milestones. There is power in the sharing as we hold each other in community. Just a sentence or two is enough. We'll start with the folks in the room to give those on Zoom a chance to type joys and sorrows into the chat box to be read aloud in the fellowship. As the mic is passed, please share your sorrows, whatever you may be holding that is in need of healing and our caring thoughts, and or your joys, whatever you may be celebrating, whatever evokes within you a feeling of joy, peace, or gladness. Are there any joys or sorrows that people would like to share here in the room?
Hi, I'm Ellen, and I'd like to have a candle lit for my son-in-law, Steve Roscoe, who had a bad accident at home last week, and he's now at home and healing from several bone breakages. Yeah.
My name is Emily Costello, and I just want to share that I'm really happy to be welcoming Kathleen and Wayne to my fellowship. Wayne and I have our family and have known each other for more than 50 years, and he was married to my mother. I mean, so we were literally family. And I'm just so grateful to be able to share this loving community with people that I love. And my friend Amira came to see what everything's about here, so.
Hi, I'm Barley. I'm so disappointed in the United States' action towards Venezuela.
I'm Dee Dee Kamhai, and I'm sending strong wishes to get better to Eric Luria, who has been out not doing well for the last 3 weeks.
Are there any joys and sorrows that were shared on Zoom this afternoon?
On Zoom, Trudy would like to share a concern in silence. And that's it.
We kindle this candle offered by our care team as a flame of remembrance and love, illuminating the joys and sorrows shared among us and those resting gently in the sacred quiet of our hearts. Let us share a moment of silence. As we know, the work of our fellowship within these walls and beyond takes our time, treasure, and talents. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is for the fellowship to provide financial support to our many ministries. Generosity is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and institutional well-being. You are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as the ushers come among you to accept your gifts of treasure. As we pass the baskets, if you are new here today or if you are struggling to hold things together, please let the baskets pass you by. Your presence is more than enough for us and is a gift. The offering will be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. Please know that we donate the money collected to an organization providing services to our lakeside community. For November, we will be donating the basket to Poco a Poco. The description is on the monitor. We take to heart these words by UU Minister Erica Hewitt. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation. With gratitude, we've received these gifts and dedicate them to the work of this congregation, our shared vision, and the values of our faith.
Hello, everybody. Having been the direct beneficiary of stewardship campaigns for a good part of my working life, affords me perhaps with a unique perspective on the significance of this year's campaign that's been a part of every church and religious group I've ever been a part of. For those of you who don't know my background, I was the pastor of a small congregation in Sonoma, California for about 18 years. And in small congregations, the majority of the budget goes to, guess what? To the salary of the minister. So as you can imagine, I was keenly invested in the success of these annual campaigns to meet our church's budgetary needs, keeping me and my family clothed and fed and sheltered. Now, during this stewardship drive here at LCUUF, where I have joined you as a member, I have listened to various ones of you share your testimonies about giving of your time or your talents or your treasures to meet the needs of this congregation. And as I listen, I'm silently cheering each one of you on. As a listener and also thinking about the response that everyone here has and hoping, as the leadership team is, that everybody is saying, yes, I am of course going to do my part in the stewardship campaign to meet the budgetary needs of this church. Now, budgetary needs is kind of a technical sounding, maybe even arid way of speaking about this annual endeavor we're now engaged in. But here's the thing. Real lives are impacted by what happens when the offering plates are passed each week, and by the submission of our annual pledges at this time of year, and their fulfillment, of course, in the year that follows. My own life has been positively and graciously impacted right here in this space by being part of this fellowship. I feel here a place of belonging. I resonate with so much of what is said, and I feel a kinship with all of you as fellow travelers on this particular spiritual path that we're on. So, once again, I'm going to make my pledge. In fact, I have it right there. I'm going to put it in the basket when it passes by. And if you haven't already done so yourselves, I welcome you, as you are able, to join me in making a financial pledge to support the work of this church that builds us up and touches so many lives outside of our congregation.
Well, this is a time where we get to rise as willing and able and join our voices together, our hearts and minds, and we're building a new way, number 1017. What a great segue from that testimonial. Building a new way. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We just might. We'll try not to drown you out. That won't be the last time you sing that song. Sounding good, sounding really good. Well, I just want to acknowledge it's just a joy and delight to be here. We've been really loving your community, loving this beautiful town, this place, and this fellowship. I'm going to offer you this reading. Today's reading is called 4 Kinds of Forever by Brenda Hillman. The unknowns are up early. They browse through the bronze porch bells. Crows call, and late apples blaze towards western emptiness. In your illness, the edges hesitate. Like the revolt of workers, they will take a while. Here comes the fond, mild winter. Other realms are noisy and unanimous. You tap the screen and dream while waiting. 4 kinds of forever visit you today. Something, nothing, everything, and art. Greater than you are, and of your making.
I have to add my words of gratitude to Kathleen's words, to be able to come down here to visit family and friends and also find this warm hospitality from Reverend Matt and from all of the folks who've helped us with working on this service has just been lovely. So it's just been a joy. I retired from being a full-time Unitarian Universalist minister back in 2016, which is feeling like a long time ago by now for me to be away from regularly being in a pulpit. There's still a lot that I miss about leading a religious community. And one of those things is the rhythms of the church year. we still enjoy being members and participants in our local congregational community in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it continues to provide some of the structure of our life together, as it does for so many congregational members, I'm sure for some of you. Sunday morning services, regular small groups for learning, for spiritual practices, for justice work happen every week. And then, of course, we move together through the rituals that are associated with the seasons of the year and the important holidays. The U.S. Thanksgiving holiday just passed, of course, the upcoming Christmas rituals. If you add to this cycle of the annual celebrations, those occasional ceremonies that will mark rites of passage in the life we share in so many of our congregations. There are the births, the coming of age ceremonies in many churches, the marriages, and of course the deaths, still providing markers of sacred time in our weekly, seasonal, and annual lives. And yet, each of us has an internal rhythm of seasons in our individual lives that can only be experienced, explored, and understood by each of us and no one else. Religion, psychology, and therapy can help us as we go through our personal rites of passage that are important to us. And so many of those have no ceremonies associated with them. Think about it, moving from one school or city to another as a young person, perhaps, in your life, or leaving your parents' home, or that first job, or that first job transition, or the decision to become or not to become a parent, or the changes in relationships that involve endings, or perhaps the decision to make or end a marriage vow, the dreaded midlife crisis, the empty nest, retirement. All of these are transitions in our lives that are part of this rhythm of personal life that are rarely or inadequately marked by ceremonies that help us recognize the fact that the structure of our lives and our time is different now. It's changed. So even though my retirement was marked by the congregation that I left with a nice party, my wife kept working as an interim minister. And so it felt like I was walking down a dark road alone with no flashlight at first. In that first year of retirement when she was still working. I went for long walks and bike rides by myself. I played golf quite often by myself. I tried reading all those books that I'd said to myself that I wanted to read. One day I picked up Bruce Springsteen's autobiography, and because I'd always liked his music, and I found myself going down this rabbit hole of 2 full days of listening to the entire catalog of everything that Bruce Springsteen had ever recorded, because I had nothing else to do that week, and that was great. But I was looking for ways to structure my life. So there was a reinvention of my life in retirement with a new structure that couldn't be based in the work that I had been doing week upon week, year upon year for 40 years. But that was still informed by the wisdom of congregational life. Now, when Kathleen retired just last summer, we entered a different season, a different chapter of our shared life. And I think she's been undergoing something like that same walk down a dark road with no flashlight that I experienced in these last few months. A time still being connected to the participation of this kind of sacred time in congregational community that we mark here, but one where the usual routines that religious professionals have to follow no longer dominate our lives. And as we approach this new joint rite of passage together, we had to ask ourselves, how shall we structure our shared life together now? So one place that we looked for wisdom was in the writers and the poets that are our continuing companions. And Maria Popova, the Bulgarian writer, is one of those companions. And perhaps some of you might know her as the author of a book that's entitled Figuring, which is about how creative people in various professions undertake meaning-making in their lives. And she also writes a blog called The Marginalian, and in that blog, Kathleen came across words that seemed appropriate to our stage of life. Popova describes, and I'm quoting her here, the existential disorientation of feeling your transience press against the edge of the eternal, your smallness press against the immensity that dwells at the intersection of time, of chance, and of love. And she goes on to offer a definition of God, which some of you might like. She says, God is just what some people call their dream of a crosswalk when they face that intersection. Well, we can certainly have that experience of our transience, our impermanence, pressing against the edges of the eternal at other times in our lives. Of course we do, especially when birth and death become more intimate and present, when we become a parent, when we face an illness, when we experience the profound loss of someone we have loved. Retirement is a more routine occasion when we come to that crosswalk, that intersection where time and chance and love intersect. At the conclusion of Popova's blog post in The Marginalian, Kathleen found this poem by Brenda Hillman that she just shared that inspired our title today and that was offered as the reading. And so we were taken very much by the poet's image that there might be 4 different ways of looking at time as you begin a new chapter of your life. A chapter which at the beginning may seem like an unimaginable space of forever, undefined, uncertain. Well, Hillman called in the poem these 4 ways of engagement, sort of mysteriously called them something, nothing, everything, and art. So I started to think about what content and activities in my life match up with these poetic headlines for how to hold forever inside everyday time in 4 different ways. So this is what I came up with. I've started to think about my time in 4 baskets. And I thought about baskets because especially woven baskets can be flexible, soft containers that can hold sometimes a little or a lot. And when I considered how to be thoughtful about structuring my new forever time for the rest of my life, I imagined these 4 baskets of time from which to draw my everyday activities in the world. So my first basket holds the time I devote to my spiritual practices that ground me mentally and emotionally and physically. In my case, this represents a long-standing commitment to the practices of Zen meditation. And I also have done Tai Chi on and off for most of my life. So I try to do that every week. And I will label that basket using Hillman's terms, her 4 kinds of forever, as my nothing basket, because spiritual practices produce lots of nothing. Nothing visible, nothing fungible, nothing that adds to the gross national product. That is the basket where you can experience the nothing that is one kind of forever. And the second basket holds the time that you could call my work now, but what that means is doing the things that I've kind of always been good at and that I really enjoy and still want to keep doing. So I would label that the something basket. at many stages of life, you know, the something basket is the thing that holds most of your time. It's the big one. And the other baskets all fit somehow around them, or you don't even pay attention to the other baskets. But in the best of all possible worlds, which I hope my retirement is, the something basket holds work that I can continue to do on and off as a base of a little bit of financial support to help us enjoy things that we like to do when we retire. Many people do struggle with how big that something basket should be as a source of meaning in your life. And so as each of us in our current situation of figuring out shared retirement is involved in ministry like we are today, we are trying to just do that in short spurts so that we can choose other kinds of maybe working volunteer time, opportunities that do not recreate the life that we used to live, doing the same things we always did. Some ministers end up doing that, and recreate their old life without being paid for it. So we don't want to do that. The third basket now, getting to the third, is the everything basket. And that is the one that holds the relationships that nourish and inspire your life. Whether that's a marriage or a partnership or children or dear friends or communities with which you identify, like this one. And that might be a basket that you neglected when the something basket took up so much in your life. And that might also be true of the fourth basket. The fourth basket, the one that holds the space for what is creative, that which is unexpected, that which might present a new opportunity to become something maybe different in your life than you've never been before. So in Brenda Hillman's 4 Kinds of Forever, this would have to be the art basket. It's the only one left, so it's the art basket, because whether you see yourself as a conventional artist or not, you are the artist that has designed and built and embodied the creative project that is your life. And especially for those of us within or looking ahead to our retirement years, that project is not at all finished. It is essential to hold a space in that fourth basket to allow your creativity to take advantage of the unexpected opportunities that will come. So Kathleen is going to focus on these last 2 baskets, everything and art, for the conclusion of our shared sermon. And I want to introduce her reflections by offering you a short second reading by one of the great creative people that I've been aware of in our world today, the music producer, Rick Rubin, who wrote a book called The Creative Act. And this is what he says. We begin with everything. Everything seen, everything done, everything thought, everything felt, everything imagined, everything forgotten, and everything that rests unspoken and unthought within us. This is our source material, and from it we build each creative moment. This content does not come from inside us. The source is out there, a wisdom surrounding us, an inexhaustible offering that is always available to us. And we either sense it or remember it or tune into it, not only through our experiences. It may be dreams, intuitions, subliminal fragments, or other ways still unknown by which the outside finds its way in, turning something from an idea into a reality can seem to make it smaller. It changes from unearthly to earthly. The imagination has no limits. The physical world does. The work exists in both.
I don't know if any of you remember or saw that film that was from a few years back called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It was an absolutely wacky film. It was an over-the-top exploration of living in the multiverse, experiencing multi-universes all at once. It was an absurdist, surreal, and oddly existentialistic film, as the main character attempts to navigate those parallel versions of herself in multiple universes. Now, there was a lot of things about the film I didn't love, but I related to it because there are some days when it feels like perhaps we, are dealing with everything, everywhere, all at once. I mean, there are days, especially when I feel oversaturated by news, or rage, or exhaustion, or fear about the latest wave of political machinations, when I worry about small things like the United States slide into an irreversible state of fascism and authoritarianism. It's everything, everywhere, all at once. And even if the state of the nation and the condition of the planet weren't overwhelming enough, it's our own personal lives that can feel also quite overwhelmed. So, as Wayne said, I retired in June of this year. My picture of being retired was enjoying the fruits of the many years of labor, sitting on the porch, looking out over a lake. I didn't think much about the continuing labors of the everythingness of daily life that can make for a very anxious spirit sometimes. So, what's the antidote? Well, there are two, for me, represented by those last two baskets that Wayne talked about as the third and the fourth kinds of forever. I make time to engage with the third basket, those relationships that nourish and inspire my life. And I think of them as broadly as possible, as a wellspring of comfort and inspiration. And as he listed some of those, they of course include my family, my marriage, my siblings, my in-laws, my grandchildren. They include my oldest and dearest friends that I've had now more time to engage with and stay connected with. And the new friends I've started to make in the various communities which I engage with at home. The congregational community is one of those, but certainly there are others. And then there is a relationship that is a spiritual practice that many Unitarian Universalists don't share, and that spills over from the first basket Wayne talked about into the third, and that is my relationship with God. Because for most of my professional life, I've had to keep that relationship in the closet, which is a little ironic being a religious professional. But I've kept it in the closet knowing that for some Unitarian Universalists, coming out about being a theist and a Christian would make them uncomfortable, or might doubt my ability to minister to the non-theists, to the atheists, to the agnostics, to our Jewish members, to our pagan members. But at this stage of my life, I realized that that relationship is like any other that I need to pay attention to and that I care about. And I need to pay attention to it to keep it alive in me as a spiritual commitment and practice. So all of these relationships are part of the everything basket because they mean everything to me. And they weave together a sustaining network that holds me up when the everything, everywhere, all at once is just too much. And as a dear colleague and I like to say to each other, we conclude our phone calls with, in the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. So, but what about you, and what about the other antidote? Well, that's in the last basket. The four kinds of forever visit you today. If you remember, something, nothing, everything, and art. And that last one, art, is a bit puzzling, isn't it? I mean, why, when I first read the poem, I wondered, why would Hillman add art to this list of rather heavy ontological states of being? Because for some people, art is mysterious. Maybe even they consider it elitist. And my go-to art forms have been poetry and music in the past. And when I turn to the poets, I so often find wisdom beyond my knowing that shines a light into that forever. In one of my very favorite poems by Rilke, and I've always treasured this line, he said, let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. My other beloved artistic engagement has been music, and I not only listen, I play. Well, sort of. At least that's what I've been telling myself. I have played at various times in my life the cello, the violin, and the piano, just enough to know that it's unlikely I'll ever be any good. But this year, after I retired, I got a new insight about my relationship to music. And maybe you've discovered this too about yourself. I don't have to be good. I just have to be good enough to have fun with myself and maybe with others. And so I've rethought my relationships with the relationship, particularly with the violin. And instead of trying to play Bach's double violin concerto like I've been trying to do my whole life, I've taken up bluegrass fiddling. It's a blast. What a hoot. It never occurred to me to try that. And I'm having, for the first time in my life, a great time practicing. Although I'm not always sure about what my husband is thinking about and how he thinks about this in the next room. Well, I'm telling you this in the hopes that you can also find yourself in some of these stories, by the way. Another art form I'd never considered before I retired was drawing. And the story I told myself was, I'm an art lover. I love art, but I could never do that myself. I can't draw a straight line. To which my mother, who was an artist, would say, well, neither can I. That's why rulers were invented. So getting up the courage to draw was something I'd never done before, something that I found I was afraid to do, and then it turned out to be both more challenging and illuminating than I ever imagined. But I finally sat myself down, and I just started drawing, and then one day I came across his book, the one that you heard by Rick Rubin, on the creative act. And this is what's important. It's a way of seeing. And in that book, I found the wisdom that you heard as a reading. You remember how just an excerpt of that reading went. Now think about this in your own lives. We begin with everything. Everything done. Everything thought. Everything felt. Everything imagined. Everything forgotten. And everything that rests unspoken and unthought within us. This is our source material. So Rubin's book is not about how to make art. It's a deep reflection on the relationship between the inner self and the outer world, and the awareness of both that makes art possible. So what is art anyway? Is it this? Of course it is. Love that painting. But could it be something else? Could it be this? Well, yeah. Well, what about this? Could it be something else again? It could be multiple versions. There are one painting, but many versions of this. In fact, I think we have another slide or two more slides. So hit the next slide. Yeah, there's another interpretation of the same painting, or that. One painting, many interpretations, and I'm sure there are likely hundreds more. And certainly we recognize not only talent and technique and those who have mastered their craft, but we also recognize authenticity, that the way you feel inside and your ability to communicate that to the wider world is the artful gesture. So how we approach the world, our world, with wonder and curiosity and interest and, yes, even reverence for what we see or feel or experience, that is what it means to create an artful life. So drawing has become one of the most spiritually humbling and instructive practices of my life thus far. It's humbling because I have begun to realize how much focused attention and doggone hard work and practice it takes to even draw a single nose or an eye that looks even remotely like a real person's eye or nose. But it was also spiritually instructive because I realized, particularly in trying to draw faces, I realized that I was drawing what I wanted to see instead of what was really there. In other words, I made stuff up to suit my picture of the way I think the person should look. Because also, frankly, it was easier than to try to depict the person in all their individuality. So art teaches us at least two things. One is to see the world as it really is, and to imagine a world that is yet to be revealed. So again, reflecting back on Rubens' quote, the source is out there, a wisdom surrounding us, an inexhaustible offering that is always available. It may be in dreams, intuitions, subliminal fragments, or in other ways unknown to us, by which the outside finds its way inside. So all this brings us back to Brenda Hillman's poem, where she reminds us that the unknowns are up early. Indeed, they are. And yet, as we wake in the morning, tapping the screen of our limited vision and dreaming while waiting, I invite you to consider the 4 baskets we talked about today. And remember, as the new day unfolds, that there will be 4 kinds of forever waiting to visit you. Something, nothing, everything, and art. Greater than you are, and of your own making. May it be so. Thank you. And so it is. Let's rise together as willing and able, and let's sing this our closing hymn, For All That Is Our Life. I think we have 3 verses.
If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world.
If here you have found comfort, go and share it with others.
If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true.
And if you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace, and may peace attend all your days. Blessings.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Let us extinguish our chalice with these words that we read together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with all the world. Our worship is over, our service begins. Oh, sorry. Let's all remember it is a wonderful world. Our worship is over, our service begins. Go in peace and with a purpose.